Hey everybody, Jeff from Pantheon Longboards here. Today we are going to have a quick discussion on checking your board for straightness or warp. Now obviously we all want straight boards. Why do you want a straight board? Well, you want your board to feel like it's perfect probably when it comes to you. You want that perfect board. And secondly, when you have a warped board, what that means is that you might have a turn along the length of the deck that causes the trucks not to be straight. And that might cause, when you put the board down on the ground, for it to rock and maybe feel it pull to the side a little bit. Now, in most situations, this isn't actually going to be much of an issue because once you're standing on the board, you're flattening down the board. There's maybe a couple pounds of pressure sometimes is all it takes to straighten out the deck underneath your feet. However, I understand everyone wants a perfect board. I want my board to feel perfect. You want your board to feel perfect, especially if you just bought it. So one of the things that I do when I check these boards is I look at it from the side first. This is how I check my boards for straightness, and I think this is the best way to do it. We're going to look at the board straight on from the side. You don't want to look at it from an angle because this isn't going to give you the same perspective, especially if your board has complex concave. What you're going to do is take the board straight from the side, and you're going to try to match the front rail with the back rail. And then what you're looking for is these side rails. And you want to see how these compare to each other. If one side lifts up before the other side lifts up, if this side lifts up first, for example, this board might be turned a little bit in this front way, towards that direction. So now what we're going to do is we're going to match this rail as it comes down. And you can do it in both directions, but we're looking at the sides here, and we're looking for the distance between the front rail and the back rail, and we're trying to match it against the distance from the other rail. And if those are the same, then you've got yourself a straight board. Can you see that? Alright, another way that I like to check for straightness is along the length. However, it's certainly better to do this with trucks on the board. If the board were really warped though, you'd be able to see it very clearly. This one, I don't think you're going to see anything. Side view first. If you're unsure, you can look along the length. If you're really unsure, you need to put trucks on the board. Now I'm going to show you how not to check your board for straightness. This is probably the #1 mistake that people make when they try to check their board for straightness, and it just doesn't work. It's not consistent. The #1 way that I see people check their boards for straightness is by putting it on a floor. This is just not the way to do it. And I'll tell you why. The reason is because your floor simply is not straight. If I were using this floor to check for straightness, I'd say, okay, I have a straight board right here, right? But then if I put it on the next ply up, it's telling me that the board's a little bit crooked. That one's straight. I start looking for places on this floor to make the board feel like it's either straight or not. What we're getting here is a little bit of rock. And the fact is that the floor is just not showing us squat. So what we're going to do now, if we're still unsure, which I think we're already pretty sure about this board, but if you're unsure about your board, the next thing to do is to put trucks on it. Okay, now we've assembled our skateboard with trucks, and we've got 2 ways to check the straightness with these trucks, and this is going to be the best way to be able to look at a board and check to make sure if your board is going to ride right. So the first thing we're going to do is check this line created by the front truck versus this line created by the back truck, and we're looking to see if these lines are parallel. Alright? This is going to tell us whether or not our base plates are straight. If those lines are straight and they're parallel with each other, then you've got a straight board. The second thing you can do is to look at the board's hangers and to check the front line created by this front hanger and the rear line created by the rear hanger and check to see if those are parallel. Now if those are parallel, you've got yourself a straight board. These are the most important parts to check the trucks, because the trucks are going to tell you how the board is going to sit on the ground. And if you got that board with the trucks crooked, they're going to pull off to the side or make the board feel a little bit wonky underfoot. We've gone through the different steps to check your board. Side first, truck second, not the floor. Please remember this moving forward, and have a good time on your straight skateboard. Hopefully a Pantheon. Thank you.